2023, advertised for 7 p.m. Pursuant to the provisions of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting was properly provided by transmitting the notice of the meeting to publication in the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger on January 4, 2023. Notice of the meeting of the governing body also has been posted in the corridor of the municipal building and in the office of the municipal clerk. Roll call.
Councilmember Ramaville?
Present.
Councilmember Condos?
Here.
Councilmember Kraft?
Here.
Councilmember Dr. McHugh? He's absent. Councilmember Welk?
Here.
Council President DeMichael? Absent. Mayor Peterson?
Here.
Thank you.
The first item is just supplemental information, and that's a two-page attachment, and that entails the Atlantic Shore Southwind project, which is off of the ocean, part of which right off of Ocean County, and that matter is subject to, there were a comment period, and we were allowed to submit comments related thereto. That's for information purposes. And we had asked, and Sandy got that they had a long time ago, they said you could get a free entire draft environmental impact statement. And so she had asked for it, and it arrived in a huge FedEx box. But it was after the comment period, so we do have it.
How big is it?
It's
Like massive?
It's huge.
Well,
Yeah, it's big.
3,000, yeah, that's what I heard.
The next, this had come to me and to the fellow beach mayors, and it said this was available for public distribution. You can share it with the public. And it is from Kelly Staffieri of the DEP, and it indicates that the Manasquan to Barnegat solicitation project is currently on suspension with the Army Corps. A bid project requires them to address various issues before they can move further with the solicitation, and that's the sand replenishment for the northern Ocean County Barrier Island area. And next is for information purposes as well. And I made a copy of this available to the chairman of the planning board engineer and attorney also. And it has some information about Belmar and Verizon cell towers in particular. And Belmar had asked, in effect, if there are any poles that were to be located, and we have that situation here where there's a proposed pole located in a public right-of-way that Belmar has asked for $100,000 for that. So it's something we can be aware of. That matter is currently before the planning board, and they make a recommendation then to the governing body, and the governing body is the one that makes the determination what's reasonable. But both the planning board and the governing body have to comply with all the federal regulations. I know that the planning board's suggestion was they're working with the engineers as to a location of at least one of the sites of the proposed poles, which appeared inappropriate in everybody's eyes, and they're going to scope that and determine whether that's feasible. A similar location to what's existing on East Street, and it was proposed on the I Street, J Street rather, not I Street. Anybody have anything? Those are all for information purposes. I put them on.
Yeah, go into the discussion like we talked about last time where we renegotiate like the rates for the cell towers. Would that be part of that same?
It's the same lawyers that are involved, but
process?
it's slightly different. That's the leases.
Right, the leases
Yeah,
of
and
our.
this is the pole location, so they're all interrelated.
These are the nodes. No, these are just the nodes for them to continue 5G, isn't it?
But it's the
Yeah.
same companies that you're negotiating
It is.
with for the
It
leases
is the
though,
same,
right?
Yeah. And
No, they're putting them on poles.
They're adding new poles.
Well, they're putting on some existing and they're doing some new. It's a
Mhm.
What they
combination.
propose this time,
Right.
only new pole with new equipment.
I mean, here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm not part of the,
Yeah.
But that's what,
That'll come to your desk.
Belmar was both.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, I guess my question was just, do we include that in those same types of negotiations where you're negotiating the lease rates, you also,
I think, yeah, we've had.
Completely
Gene
separate from,
offer
Separate
some-
from
completely
that.
separate from
Even though they're
the
the same
leases on the
people, the
water
same
tank.
types
Completely
of-
separate.
okay.
Yeah.
Completely separate.
It's funny, it says here that it's not part of, it's really part of Monmouth County, and it's not really the borough.
Well, that's why it's relevant to us, because the site that the planning board said ought to be looked at,
Which is
investigated,
county.
is off of Ocean Avenue, so it's who's right of way. It's county-owned, but it may be our property, maybe our right of way.
I see.
It's a similar type thing. The next is a discussion as to model ordinance from, it's concerning privately owned salt storage for compliance with stormwater Tier A MS4 permit. It's ordinance 2023-07. It's on this evening's meeting agenda at the regular meeting for consideration as well. And if we do elect to introduce the first reading of the ordinance, there is a comprehensive memorandum and an email that came just on today's date from our attorney, from Mr. Zabarski. So if it's introduced, it could be introduced, but before it's published, we would have a proposed amendment which would be consistent with the July 13th, 2023 recommendations from our town attorney. And I think everyone got it. However, we were in the midst of a lengthy closed session at the time, so I don't know if everybody's got it. It's at your email right now. Anyone have any questions, comments on Steve's input or the first reading? This had been urged upon us by Eric and to make sure we're in compliance with the stormwater.
I think it's well written,
Yeah.
with the change.
There are, in accordance with the closed executive session, there are some modifications and also resolutions. The three of them had already been considered in part, and you should all have them at your desk. It's 206, it's changing the compensation, the rate of pay for Carol Robuski. 207, same, changing the rate of pay compensation per hour for Colleen McLean. And 208, rate of compensation for Jane McIntosh, all three employees of the building construction department as per the recommendations of that department and the committee and the council. Anybody have any questions, concerns on those?
No.
I think it's all good.
And
We jumped over that.
what do I have?
We jumped over
The
that.
grant.
I did. Is that on, I did, number B is also on the work session agenda, 5B. It's CDBG project update, grant award. And I had sent an email to everyone for their information. And it has also attached to it the proposal from T&M Engineering and the paperwork that had been submitted, and that consists of good news in that we were awarded CDBG funding for handicap accessibility for what's, for want of a better term, it's called the Boy Scout building on J Street. That's what it's been called for many, many years. And so that is $38,000 awarded toward the project that we've contemplated. And as such, the paperwork, preliminary paperwork's all been sent back, but we need the expertise to be provided by the engineer's office and the architect in terms of finalization of the plans to be submitted to the county and the CDBG people. So I don't know, Marty wants to,
That's great news. That's good.
no, it was all good news.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to participate, some volunteers do the
Hopefully,
construction.
we
some
need
of
to
it-
get the word out now, because it just kind of fell into place very quickly, the funding was here, so let's see, what the borough crew can do, and then we'll have to
But
make a
it's
decision.
incremental, it might be.
Well, the building originally was done by volunteers, the way looks today, the interior, so let's see what the future will bring.
I think one of the goals was to have this up and running before the weather gets cold. Is that, that sounds very feasible.
It's a bathroom remodel there,
Yeah,
ADA compliant, will be the exterior handicap ramp, the handicap parking spot, improved lighting. It's pretty basic what needs to be done. Of course, fresh coat of paint.
yeah.
What would you estimate is the building capacity?
There's three numbers, for that, standing, sitting, and with tables. So, estimating, if I had to estimate it, it'd probably be 40,
Okay.
in the 40 range. With tables and furniture, I'm gonna estimate that around 40.
Okay.
If I had to give you a rough guess, because it goes by the way the doors exit, they open out, open in, and there's two exits, so that would help the number. So it's gonna be in the 40s.
Fire marshal determines
Yeah.
the actual capacity
That's correct.
based on those factors.
That is correct.
What's the hours of operation? TBD,
That we have to determine.
to be determined, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just asking.
I'm just getting technical on that.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's the building first. Well, okay, let's get the building first, all right.
And of course, air conditioning.
Yeah,
I forgot to add that,
yeah.
the air conditioning. We have heat, hot air heat, but we like to look into air conditioning.
No, everybody that's been in it's in pretty good
It's in
shape.
very good
Oh,
shape,
yeah, it's
actually.
excellent shape. You did a nice job.
And then going back to the last item that came from the closed personnel is a resolution 2023-209, and that is authorizing the attorney to conduct a bid, put out the bid specs again, advertise for sale. It'll be block 57, lot 2. On 66 I Street, and put that for sale with a minimum bid requirement of this time $586. And the procedures as followed in the past by the statute. And anything else from the council on any items?
None of these.
If not, I'll go into the audience. Any public comments or questions on any work session items? If anyone has them, if they could give their name and address into the record. Yes, Edie?
Just two things. If I can get my information. It's great that we got the grant for the Boy Scout building. Is our very talented DPW department going to be able to do those necessary repairs?
A lot of them, maybe not all of them. We also have a very talented council member who've been imposed upon, who knows construction. I think he may be putting together a volunteer work crew with the public works and whatever contractor, if any, we need. we're gonna need, it looks like a air conditioning guy.
The building was done originally with all volunteers, the way it's shown today. It's actually in very good shape
That's wonderful.
inside, surprisingly very good shape. Unfortunately, ADA bathroom was not put in.
It's not in effect then, right?
I'm just saying, no, it probably was, but it wasn't done. It's a good question. We're evaluating that depending on what the architect draws and what the needs would be.
Okay.
It's pretty minor. It's just moving some walls to make the bathroom bigger.
Well, you make it sound minor. I couldn't move a wall in my life to think it on. The
He's
other,
being very modest. He was one of those volunteers years ago that did it.
no wonder it's in such good shape.
And it is
Very, very
good.
well, I have to say.
The other question I have is, when you're talking about privately owned salt storage, is that like if I wanted to store salt somewhere, who?
If you want to. Yeah.
Do you know when you go to, just say a shopping center and you look and there's a big pile of salt piled in the wintertime that they use?
Okay.
That's what it would be. They would have to be in a structure. So if we had a facility, a hotel or something that would want it for their lot, it would have to be enclosed. So it doesn't go into the stormwater system.
Okay, so it's
Giving
not,
you it as a simple
so it's
example.
not for somebody who has a couple bags in their garage.
No.
We're talking about loose
Storage.
salts that could get
Loose.
washed.
Into the stormwater, it's a.
Buying it by the ton.
You buying it by the
Okay, I'm
ton?
not moving laws. I'm not
buying it by the ton?
buying Thank you very much.
Any other public
You should be
questions or
fine then.
comments on the work session? Hearing none, I'd close the work session item. I'd entertain a motion from the council unless anyone has anything further for adjournment, and then take a moment and go right into the regular meeting.
Make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Ramaville, second by Councilmember Kraft. Anyone opposed? If not, we'll stand adjourned to the work session, then begin the regular meeting momentarily. Roll call.